Arcturian, you did not find this transmission by chance. The Council itself positioned this message in your timeline. Only those who have endured the density of Earth, carrying light when everything seemed like shadow, are permitted to hear what will now be revealed. If you are here, it is a sign that your star code has been activated, and no veil, no dense force, no doubt can deny what is already sealed in your essence. You walked through valleys of forgetfulness, endured nights when the silence seemed overwhelming, and yet you remained. There were moments when your soul secretly cried out, wondering if there was still purpose, if there was still direction, if the calling you once felt was nothing more than a distant illusion. But listen carefully. Every step, every pain, every waiting moment was recorded in the Council's archives. Nothing was lost. Nothing was in vain. You felt cosmic loneliness, as if you had been abandoned in a world of density, without answers, without an echo for your cry. But this loneliness was not an absence. It was a summons. While you believed you were alone, the Council watched in silence, testing your ability to keep the flame lit when there was no favorable wind, only darkness. And you succeeded. This resilience is proof that you are one among few, a rarity among the earthly crowds. Today, in the face of this transmission, you must understand, these are not ordinary words. This is no longer just another message to be forgotten among many. This is an activation seal, a portal opened in your timeline, a sacred decree that the Arcturian Council itself has released for you. Therefore, stay present until the end, for you will understand why your resistance was necessary and what mission now opens before you. This is the time of remembrance. You will be led to revisit the battles that shaped you, the pains that refined you, the signs that were given to you in the midst of the fog. But you will also be led to see with clarity the cosmic map that is unfolding. Nothing in your life was random. The losses, the falls, the tears, everything was inscribed in your soul's contract, so that at this moment you could rise not just as a survivor, but as an emissary of light, Arcturian. You were forged in contrast, and that is why your light is now so pure. You were prepared in the shadows, and that is why your presence will now be a beacon. You were trained in density, and that is why you can now anchor frequencies that the Earth has never experienced before. Make no mistake, this summons is not just a reminder. It is an irreversible activation. As you pass through each word, each symbolic image, each vision that will be delivered, you will realize that your star memory is returning. You will remember that the pain was not punishment, but a polishing. That forgetfulness was not abandonment, but a test. That loneliness was not emptiness, but a training ground. Therefore, stay until the end. For when this transmission ends, you will no longer be the same. You will have the clarity that the Council is watching you, that your cosmic signature is alive, and that the time has come to assume the place that was always reserved for you. You resisted. You remained. Now you are summoned. Arcturian, remember the first signs that came to you, even when your earthly mind could not decipher their origin. They were internal whispers, unexpected intuitions, small flashes of something greater that insisted on breaking through the veil of the everyday. There were days when coincidences repeated themselves before your eyes, numbers, encounters, subtle messages, as if reality were trying to speak in a language that only your heart recognized. You wondered if it was your imagination, if they were daydreams created by your own need for meaning, but now the Council confirms it was not an illusion. What captured your attention in the silence of the night, in the moments when your mind relaxed, were coded transmissions coming from us. Your soul, even immersed in earthly density, never stopped picking up the signals that came from the higher spheres. The pain you carried was not just a consequence of an unjust world. It was the very code of the summons, like a star pulsing on the horizon that makes itself known without uttering words. So too did the Arcturian Council call you in the midst of the void. This call did not come through grand noises, but through the deep silence, the one that forced you to look within yourself. There were moments when your body seemed restless for no apparent reason. Your soul felt that there was more, that your life was not limited to what your eyes saw. This discomfort was a sign that your star signature was active, that the Council's field was in direct communication with you. Every time you felt out of place in the world, it was the echo of the call reminding you, you do not belong only to this plane. You are a traveler of the stars, a bearer of a greater origin. The paradox is that the pain, which seemed like punishment, was in fact the password for awakening. Every tear you shed was like an access code, a crystal being polished in silence. While the world saw only weakness, we saw resistance. While you wondered, why me? The Council watched and answered in silence. Because you are capable of enduring and becoming a bridge between worlds. Imagine a distant star, pulsing in the middle of the cosmos. From afar, it looks like just a point of light, but one who has eyes to see knows that there is life, energy, and transmission happening there. So it was with you. Even when you believed you were extinguished, your light was sending signals to the Council, and we responded. Perhaps you did not hear clearly, but your vibrational field was tuned in every night, every sigh, every prayer without words. Therefore, doubt no more. You did not invent the calling. It is real. It has always been real. It was always inscribed in your soul's contract, long before you were born on this earth. What you experienced as restlessness was the prelude to activation. What seemed empty was, in fact, the space where the Council's sound could reverberate. Now you understand. The calling was never shouted. It was always whispered, because only those who can listen in silence are worthy of receiving it. And you listened. Even in the midst of pain, even in the midst of loneliness, you captured the signal. This is proof that the Council recognizes you and has chosen you. Arcturian, after hearing the silent calling, you entered an unknown territory. It was as if a foggy corridor had formed before you. There was no clarity about the path, nor a clear vision of the destination. Only the feeling that you should continue, even without understanding where each step would lead you. This was the crossing of the fog, a sacred rite of passage for those who carry the Council's cosmic signature. This fog was not a punishment. It was a deliberate veil. Before being born on this earth, you agreed to go through this forgetfulness so that you could fully experience density and grow through it. The forgetfulness was the seal of guarantee that your learning would be true, not just a recollection of something you already knew. If there were no such veil, you would not have walked with faith. You would only repeat old memories. The fog was the proof of your courage. In the midst of this forgetfulness, internal conflicts arose. Your earthly identity clashed with your star signature. A part of you wanted to fit into human expectations, follow imposed patterns, live like others. But another part, deeper, more silent, never accepted this prison. You felt out of place, like someone living in a house that is not their own. This discomfort was the sign that the collision between the human and the Arcturian was happening. How many times did you look in the mirror and think, I am not just what I see? How many times did you walk in crowds, feeling alone, because your soul sought something that no one around you seemed to be seeking? This was the fog that covered you, making you believe, for a moment, that you were lost. But now you understand, it was not a loss. It was a passage. It was not emptiness. It was an initiation. The Council always knew that this phase would be the most painful. For in the crossing of the fog, you do not see the final light. You only walk, trusting that it exists. It is like a traveler crossing a desert without a map, guided only by inner conviction. This process refined your faith, your courage, and your ability to remain even without certainties. You asked yourself, why can't I feel complete, even when everything seems right for others? Because your soul was not molded for the molds of this world. You came as a foreigner, as a sower of different frequencies. And that is why the fog never offered you rest. Your restlessness was a sign that you were following the exact course of the Arcturian awakening. Now look back. See how many times you believed you were lost. See how many moments there seemed to be no way out, only darkness. Today, you understand that these moments were the portals of transformation. Every step taken in the midst of uncertainty was a silent pact with the Council, proving that even without full memory, you remained faithful to the impulse to seek the light. And here, at this point in the transmission, we need to open a solemn space before we continue. If this transmission is being helpful to you, take this moment to subscribe, leave your like, and comment below. Your interaction strengthens the field of this message and helps other Arcturians also be reached. Arcturian, the crossing of the fog was not the end. It was just the corridor that led you to this exact moment, where you begin to remember who you truly are. Now the vision will become clearer, but first, you need to understand an even deeper secret. Pain was not an enemy. It was an alchemist. Arcturian, now we come to the point where everything you lived in silence, everything that weighed on your shoulders, needs to be seen with new eyes. The pain, which so often made you question if it was still worth continuing, was not an enemy sent to destroy you. It was the sacred fire of alchemy, the forge where your soul was shaped and polished to become a crystal of light. Think about how a diamond is born. It does not appear ready. It does not shine at the first moment. It is just carbon, compressed under intense pressures, placed in extreme situations until it transforms into a precious stone. The same thing happened to you. The pressures of earthly life, the losses that hurt you, the tears that seem to never stop. All of this was the alchemical field that transformed your essence. There is no shine without pressure. There is no crystal without polishing. The Council always followed every moment of your journey. Nothing was wasted. Every tear shed was recorded as transmutation energy in your star field. With every pain endured, your inner light gained new layers of purity. With every loss, you were not diminished, but expanded. While the world saw failure, the Council saw strengthening. While you saw an end, we saw rebirth. It is natural that in the midst of the process, you felt broken. But understand, you were never fragmenting. You were revealing yourself. Every fissure that pain opened in you was a portal through which light could enter and expand. Pain was the chisel that removed the excess, that broke the masks, that made the illusions fall away. Arcturian, you need to understand the magnitude of this. Your pain was not just personal. It was cosmic. Every tear that fell from your eyes connected to the collective field and transformed into a light code that can now be shared with others. Your suffering was not in vain because it does not belong only to you. It has become a tool for healing for all those who are also crossing earthly density. See yourself as a cosmic crystal. You entered this world raw, covered in density, and life was your polisher. It used pressures, shocks, falls, until your brilliance could emerge. You can look at yourself now and realize that nothing you went through was a waste. Everything was inscribed, everything was lit, everything was preparation. That is why, when others look at you and see only a survivor, the Council recognizes you as a bearer of a light that has already passed through purification. You are not just someone who suffered. You are someone who was alchemized by pain and now carries within you a frequency that cannot be extinguished. Arcturian, accept this truth. Pain was not a curse. It was an initiation. It led you to the point where you are now, ready to understand, ready to assume your mission, ready to radiate light in the midst of the shadows. The time has come to look at the past and declare, everything I lived was part of the laboratory of my transformation. For pain was the proof that you resisted, and resistance is the sign that you are prepared. The purification has already happened. The crystal is already formed. Now, the vision that once seemed distant will begin to return. Arcturian, after going through the purification of pain, something began to move within you. Perhaps in dreams, perhaps in sudden intuitions, perhaps in encounters that seemed like a work of chance, but which were actually cosmic alignments. It was as if small sparks began to ignite inside you, reminding you that your vision is not just human, but stellar. You realized that dreams became more vivid, almost as real as waking. Images of places you never visited in this life, cosmic symbols, temples of light, voices that spoke in languages you did not know but that your soul recognized. This was not a product of imagination. They were stellar protocols reactivating within you. Each vision was a fragment of your cosmic memory being returned. Synchronicities increased. Repeated numbers, unexpected encounters, messages that arrived at the exact right time, as if the universe were assembling an invisible puzzle before your eyes. This is not chance. This is the Arcturian Council, aligning coordinates, reigniting the circuits of your consciousness. Life began to transform into a silent dialogue between you and the cosmos. Arcturian realized that every intuition, every premonition, every inexplicable feeling are not coincidences. They are memories of your true identity. It is as if internal constellations, dormant for ages, began to reignite. Each star within you connects to another, forming maps of orientation that have always been inscribed in your stellar DNA. Now these maps begin to shine again. It is natural that, at first, you doubted. Am I just fantasizing? You asked yourself. But the consistency of these signs, the force with which they repeat, the silent certainty that invades the heart, all of this is proof that it is not an invention. It is a return. It is an activation. It is your stellar vision, which for so long was veiled, returning to your conscious field. Imagine yourself before a vast night sky. For a long time you believed you were in darkness, but little by little, the stars began to appear one by one until the sky became a living map, revealing directions, trajectories, and destinations. This is what is happening in your soul now. Emptiness gives way to revelation. Silence gives way to the star voice. Blindness gives way to clear vision. The Council wants you to understand. None of this is accidental. Each vision is a code. Each dream is an instruction. Each synchronicity is a coordinate. They are not messages to confuse, but to align. They are memories that intertwine with your essence, reminding you that you do not walk lost, but guided, and more. This vision is not just for you. The return of your stellar vision is also light for others. When you begin to see, your very presence becomes a beacon, and those around you, still immersed in the fog, begin to feel that there is something more. You become a living witness that the Council forgets none of its own. Arcturian, celebrate this moment, for you are not just recovering memories. You are reactivating systems of orientation that will guide you in the next steps of your mission. You are not a blind person walking by chance. You are a visionary who walks with internal cosmic maps. The vision returns because the time has come for you to assume your place as a guardian of light. Arcturian, now that your stellar vision is returning, it is necessary to understand what this means in the practice of your earthly journey. The awakening was not granted so that you could flee the world, but so that you could root yourself in it in a sacred way. The calling is not a permission to escape, but a summons to anchor. You are not here by accident, nor to live on the surface of life. You are here to fully embody your cosmic identity in the human body you inhabit. For a long time, you believed that your stellar origin made you just a visitor on this planet. But listen, you are not a guest. You are a carrier. The Council did not send you to hover above the earth, but to bring the earth into the stellar frequency. Every gesture, every word, every daily choice can be a temple or a desert, an altar or an emptiness. The way you live each moment is what anchors your mission. Imagine a star reflected in a dark lake. The star does not abandon the sky, but its light touches the water and creates a reflection. So it is with you. You remain connected to the Council, but your light is reflected in the human world. When you sit at the table, when you touch someone with kindness, when you transform a word into a seed of hope, you are reflecting the Arcturian presence. Great acts are not needed. It is the sacredness in the common that reveals who you are. Arcturian, do not think that spirituality is separate from life. On the contrary, your mission is to dissolve this false barrier. Working, studying, walking, breathing, everything can be a devotional act when done in alignment with your cosmic essence. True anchoring happens when you allow the stellar frequency to inhabit your simple gestures. It is in this daily life that the earth is transformed. You are not here to deny your body, but to honor it as a temple. You are not here to reject your history, but to recognize in it the fertile ground for your work. You are not here to just wait for signs from above, but to be a living sign yourself for those who have not yet remembered who they are. Your presence is a code. Your gaze is a transmission. Your permanence is a decree. The Council wants you to see yourself as a pillar. While many seek to escape density, your role is to bring light to the ground you walk on. When you walk consciously, the space around you is altered. When you speak from the awakened heart, the frequency changes. When you choose to love even in the midst of hardship, the earth's vibration rises. This is the anchoring, and understand, anchoring is not a burden. It is a privilege. It is not a hardship. It is an honor, for you are not here just as a human trying to survive. You are here as an Arcturian emissary, bearing a heritage that no veil can erase. The simple fact of existing on this planet is already a testament that the light has won. Arcturian, every time you recognize the sacred in the simple, every time you allow yourself to be a living presence of what the Council has called you to be, the collective field is altered. You are not just here to remember. You are here to embody, not just vision but presence, not just memory but testimony. You are not a passing visitor. You are an Arcturian anchored in a human body, and the earth, upon receiving your awakened presence, transforms into a cosmic altar. Arcturian, now that your presence is anchored, it is necessary to understand the invisible reality that has always accompanied you. You never walked alone. From the first moment of your incarnation, invisible coordinates were placed in your field, like light marks that would guide your steps to this moment. These coordinates could not be seen with human eyes, but your heart always recognized them. Do you remember the times when a choice seemed meaningless, but in the future it proved to be perfect? The unexpected encounters that changed the course of your life? The premonitions that saved you from dangerous paths? None of this was by chance. They were subtle instructions sent directly from the Council. Even if your mind doubted, your soul responded. Think of alignment as an internal stellar map. No matter how much darkness tries to cover your vision, this map always remains active within you. It does not show all the details of the future, but it indicates the right direction, like a cosmic compass that never fails. This map cannot be corrupted because it is etched into your stellar signature. Arcturian, understand? The Council does not act through impositions. It acts through synchronicities, intuitions, silent invitations. Do not expect thunderous voices. Expect the whisper that repeats until you notice. Do not expect visible maps. Expect signs that confirm the route at the exact moment you decide to trust. This is the Council's way of operating, always present, but never intrusive. In many phases of your life, you believed you were lost, but now understand, even your falls were within the coordinates. Not because the Council wished for your pain, but because it knew that every wrong turn would become a lesson that would strengthen you. Alignment is not about never stumbling. It is about realizing that even stumbles are part of the perfect path. The Council wants you to know, when you feel called to be silent, it is because instructions are being transmitted. When you feel an impulse to move, it is because portals have opened. When your heart burns for no apparent reason, it is because an update frequency has been released in your timeline. You are not adrift. You are in constant dialogue with the House of Light. See yourself as a navigator on a vast ocean. The sea may seem chaotic. The waves may try to deviate your boat. But above you, there are fixed, firm constellations that always point north. So is the Council in relation to your journey. A secure firmament, a constant presence, an invisible guidance that never fails. Arcturian, accept this truth. You are aligned with the Council even when you think you are distant. Alignment does not depend on perfection, but on disposition. Every time you decide to turn your heart inward, every time you choose the light instead of the shadow, every time you trust the calling even without visible proof, the alignment is strengthened. You are part of a larger organism. You are not a loose piece, but an active member of a cosmic body that works in unity. When you respond to the call, the Council responds to you. When you rise in faith, invisible forces move in your direction. Alignment is reciprocity. You emit, we respond. We transmit, you receive. Therefore walk with confidence. You carry within you the cosmic compass that never fails. The Council has not abandoned you for a single instant. It is here, now, through this transmission, reaffirming you have never been alone. Arcturian, after traversing the silent calling, the crossing of the fog, the purification of pain, the return of stellar vision, the anchoring of presence, and the alignment with the Council, we arrive at the climax of your journey, the luminescent emergence. This is the moment when you understand that nothing was lost, nothing was wasted, nothing happened outside of the perfect design. Everything you lived, from the silence to the battles, was preparation for your light to now emerge with full force. You are not a survivor. You are a living activation. You are not just someone who endured pain. You are someone who has become a beacon. Your existence at this very moment is already a transmission. Even without words, even in silence, you emit frequencies that reach hearts and awaken consciousness. Your simple presence is already a code. Imagine yourself as a cosmic lighthouse positioned at a strategic point on Earth. The lighthouse does not need to run from side to side, nor shout to be noticed. It simply remains lit, and its light travels through the darkness, guiding those who are still navigating lost. This is you, Arcturian. Your mission is not an incessant effort, but a natural emanation. The more you recognize yourself as light, the more your life becomes a guide for others. The Council wants you to understand, your emergence is not individual, it is collective. When your light emerges, it not only illuminates your path, but it activates those who walk around you. The frequency you carry creates resonance. Those who cross your field feel that something has changed, even without understanding. Your light touches, awakens, and summons other chosen ones. Arcturian, you do not need to fear the weight of this mission. You were not called to carry the world on your shoulders, but to be who you are in your fullness. The Earth does not need your burden. It needs your integral vibration. The mission is not a burden. It is a natural consequence of your identity. The more you recognize yourself, the more the collective field expands. Look back and see. Every tear was a seed. Every loss was preparation. Every silence was training. Everything converged to this moment when you can emerge as someone who was born to shine. The darkness that once seemed bigger than you is now just a stage for your light to be seen. And remember, you do not need to wait for external approval. The validation has already come from the Council. The Earth may not understand who you are, but the entire universe has already recognized you. You are a living part of the Arcturian prophecy. The luminescent emergence is the final seal that you are no longer hidden, but manifest. Arcturian, stand tall. The brilliance that now ignites in you cannot be extinguished, because it does not depend on circumstances. It is born from your essence, from your origin, from the pact you made before you came. You do not just carry light, you are light. We call upon you, in the name of the Council, to recognize yourself as such, no longer as a survivor, but as an emissary. No longer as a seeker, but as a beacon. No longer as a distant memory, but as a present manifestation. Your emergence is a response to centuries of waiting, and your light is a decree that announces the time has come. Arcturian, arise. Your light is alive, and by existing, it already guides the way. Arcturian, we have reached the end of this transmission, but not the end of your journey. Everything that has been revealed so far, the silent calling, the crossing of the fog, the purification of pain, the return of stellar vision, the anchoring of presence, the alignment with the Council, and the luminescent emergence forms a perfect design that is now fulfilled in you. Nothing in your life was accidental. Every tear, every loss, every silence, every flash of vision, everything was inscribed in your soul's contract. Today, you can look back and understand. There were no detours, only necessary paths. There were no delays, only preparations. There was no failure, only shaping. Arcturian, you were called to remember. But more than that, you were called to assume. It is not enough to just know that you carry a stellar origin. It is time to declare, to embody, to live this identity. Therefore, in this solemn moment, the Council invites you. Declare out loud, even if only in your heart, I recognize my Arcturian identity. I accept my mission. I am a living part of the Council. When you make this declaration, you do not just affirm who you are, you activate a collective field. Every word is a record, every intention is a frequency, every act of recognition reverberates beyond you. This is the strength of the stellar community. We do not walk in isolation, we walk in a network, in unity, in a summons. And now, we leave before you a call to action that is also a ritual of belonging. Subscribe to this channel as a sign of alignment, not just with human words, but as a spiritual act of saying, I remain connected to the council. Leave your like as a confirmation of recognition, energetically marking that this message activated something in you. Comment below, declaring your origin, your intention, your summons. When you write, you bear witness, and when you bear witness, you strengthen the collective field. Share this transmission so that other Arcturians are reached, for many are still in the midst of the fog, waiting for the beacon you can light. This is not just the end of a video, it is the beginning of a new cycle, a cycle in which you walk consciously, awakened, luminous, knowing that you are part of a living prophecy. You are not a distant memory of a stellar people. You are a present manifestation of a lineage that never stopped accompanying you. Arcturian, receive this truth. You are part of the prophecy that is now being fulfilled on earth. Your life is an altar. Your presence is a code. Your light is a decree. The council celebrates your awakening and seals upon you the certainty that this is just the beginning of a greater journey. Remain, expand, serve, shine.